Okay, so we are here today in the Prestonwood Worship Center, the land of the so-called Megachurch Christmas show, and we're here with Brian Bailey. Brian, why don't you introduce yourself, and we'll get into a little bit of your story.
Sure, man. Thanks for having me. My name's Brian, and I'm the director of media here at Prestonwood. And man, my story, it's a long story, so I'll try not to make it too long. But I actually grew up at Prestonwood. My family got here when I was 3 years old. So that was in 82.
Yeah, you don't have to say it.
No, I'll say it. I'm 47. How's that? We'll just get that out of the way.
Still young.
Or about to be 40. I'm about to be 47 in January.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I don't know if it's to be congratulated, but I made it this far. So we got here early on in the Prestonwood story, and man, I got to grow up at this place, and you guys kind of know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea that this wasn't normal. Like, I had no idea that Prestonwood was just not the way that every church is.
Yeah.
And so through all that, I got exposed to a lot of things, worship and music-wise, and a lot of things tech and media-wise. And I actually grew up a singer. And so from the time I was in elementary school, man, I was performing and stuff. I was doing things like that. When Rick Briscoe got here, I was in the 8th grade, so I wasn't quite in there yet, but my 9th grade year was the first time being in Rick Briscoe's choirs, and Rick really poured a lot into me and helped me to develop a lot of my skills and everything, and felt called at a pretty early age to be a worship leader. Just thought that's what I was going to do. Yeah. So that's what I was preparing for, and growing up here at Prestonwood, I got to do all sorts of things performance-wise and worship-wise, but I also got to do some things tech-wise. When I was in middle school, I guess it was maybe 7th or 8th grade, they pulled me over one Saturday night. We used to have a thing called Saturday Nights in Dallas, and it was a concert series that we would do, and they pulled me over. I don't know why they picked me, but to come and run a follow spot.
There you go.
So when I was in 7th or
everyone
8th grade,
gets started in broadcast.
Everybody should get started on follow spot. You can tell the people who didn't start on follow spot, and they're not as good. But y'all can work, and you can try and get up there. But follow spot is a great place to be because you got to concentrate, but you're also hearing and seeing everything else that's going on. Mm-hmm. It's the same sort of reason why I like to start people on a camera, for volunteers, because it puts you in a position where you're having to pay attention, you're having to make a lot of decisions, but you're also not the main decision maker.
Yes.
Did you start on follow spot?
I actually did. So when I was 11, I started in I used to do theater growing up at a children's theater, and there was one show I didn't get into, so I did follow spot, and I mean,
7th grade,
I think
Peter
that's
the Starcatcher. I was like the follow spot Tinkerbell. So
that's the gateway to
to
broadcast.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I almost volunteered for follow spot for this, but I much prefer filming. So
it's and now these days we can talk about this later, but you're not running a manned follow spot anymore.
Oh, I started on
digital.
the huge
No, when I started, I mean, I'm not much taller than I was then, but like I had to stand on an apple box.
There you go.
Because we had the Super Trooper 2s. So these things were longer than I was tall, and they were huge, like a 4,000 watt. Yeah, crazy hot. So that was really good experience. I got into that, and that kind of started me kind of into lighting, and I had to do stuff with sound just because I was always performing or leading worship or something. So that's something you just kind of have to figure out. But I guess my 11th and 12th grade year, I actually helped call follow spot cues for the Dallas Christmas Festival back then.
Which
before
is
it was
GOC.
Yeah. So it was the Dallas Christmas Festival, then it was Gloria for a few years, and then it was the Gift of Christmas. And man, I got to watch a guy named Randy Taylor, who we brought in to do all the lighting programming and stuff. I got to watch him work. And keep in mind, y'all, this was like 1995, 96, 97. Mm-hmm. So moving lights were a brand new thing.
Yeah, that's like
and we had cyber lights and maybe track spots. So the moving mirror fixtures
that's sick
on the show. And I got to watch him program that, and it just fascinated me, and I loved it. So all of that to say, I got a lot of that experience here, and partly because of Rick Briscoe's influence on me, I went to Ouachita.
There you go.
So I went to Ouachita Baptist University in in Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
The great, yeah.
The great. You know what? If you like to fish like I do, it's
Or
a great place to be.
That
like
actually would
going
be.
to Walmart. That's
If you like now,
that's about it.
you know, my freshman year, when I first got there, it was just a normal Walmart. Like closed
not
at
even
10
a super
o'clock.
Walmart.
No. It was the old school ones.
No
The super
Wendy's.
Walmart opened when I was like a senior.
Poor guy.
I know.
One
But
year
it was
of
a great thing when it
Hey,
happened.
but that gave you a lot of time to focus on media.
I
Stuck in your
focused on
dorm.
something. I wasn't focused on media.
There you go.
So I went to Washington as a church music major.
Okay.
So that's what I did there. So I was a music major, vocal primary, and again, just felt led to be a worship leader and wanted to get a degree and everything. So that made a lot of sense. But again, even in college, like I was always doing some sort of technical thing along the way too. So when I graduated, I was leading worship part-time at a church there in Arkadelphia at Second Baptist, and I wanted to stick around and keep doing that.
Yeah, pouring into them.
So, but I needed a real job too. So
Right.
the guy who was the tech director was leaving, and I got the job as the tech director for Jones Performing Arts Center there at
there
Washita.
you go.
Nice.
So, I mean, I lived there for the 4 years that I was there, so I knew the place really well.
Yeah.
And I had an awesome assistant when I started named Joey Licklider, who all the OBU people know who Joey is, I'm sure. And he was doing the audio stuff, so that freed me up to really start to focus on lighting quite a bit. And so I was there for 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years, and during that time got to get a lot of like classical training in lighting, theatrical training in lighting, which I look at. So if you're going to be a vocalist or a musician of any kind, getting a classical training in music is super important to develop your bass.
Right.
Because you can take that and then modify it to any genre that you want to do.
Okay.
As opposed to if you're like, I want to do this type of music, and you just set off to do that, but you haven't laid the foundation of music theory and good technique.
You don't know what
and
the
all
keys do
that,
on the piano. Yeah.
then you might be naturally really gifted at singing this type of music, but because you don't have all this backing, you may not be able to get as good as you could, or you may not be able to last very long. Like vocal pedagogy, all the things that go along with that are super important. And the same is arguably, I think some people would say, true for technology as well. These days, because of YouTube and podcasts like this and all the stuff that's out there, you can figure out how to do things.
Get away with a lot. Yeah.
So many hacks.
Video World is a really good example of that because with an iPhone and less expensive cameras these days, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and so it's
Just like this podcast.
You can say, you can say, hey, this image looks really great. But if you've never learned how that image is even created in the first place and learn what's actually possible, then you could be shortchanging yourself and not even know it.
Yeah, that's how we ended up having trouble with our color for so long. Was we were not shooting Kelvin, we were shooting auto white balance because I'm so used to. I started off in photography.
Okay.
So auto white balance with RAW is a go-to. Like, why would you not take advantage of
and
RAW?
Do whatever you need to
later. And do whatever you need to later. But this camera only shoots log. It doesn't shoot RAW internally. And so we were like, why does our color look so bad? Like, why are we red? Then we also found out our lights turn as green. Not these ones. We upgraded.
Oh, good.
You know, sponsor deals. But yeah, we were like, wait a second. And so Bradley came on the podcast and he was like, you know, you would get a lot more out of this podcast if you just took your lights, and we had no lights at the time. And he was like, and just bounced them off the wall. And we were like, you know what, Bradley, you're right. And that day marked a huge change. And like, we already had all the gear we needed, but like just changing the technique to something that's so basic level helped like completely raise our bar.
If only there was a class you could have taken in
If
college
only.
where you could have learned some of these techniques. That's really interesting.
For the record, Brian was my professor in college, and
Luke took college very seriously.
I was so serious about my education.
It's not true.
But I will say,
That's a good story.
honestly though, that class was one of my favorite classes that I took. Looking back at it now, at the time, like I feel like I did not take it as seriously as I wish I had. There's so many times, especially in the job I have now, that I look back and I'm like, I still have the textbook though, and I can't not tell you how many times I've opened it up to like look back at the lighting section.
There you go.
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about.
No, literally
So
one of the
kind
greatest.
of. I'm just
That
kidding.
being said, because I know you went. So you're saying you went to college for like vocal performance. I went to college for like digital media. You didn't go to college.
I did not.
And Brian's a professor, so he might be a little bit biased. But in your opinion, if you want to go into the media space, how important is it to get a college education?
So I go all different ways on this
Mm-hmm.
because it really depends on you, and it depends on what you want to do, and it depends on the path that you feel called to. There are when I was in college, there was no degree for church media.
Yeah, naturally.
So if you felt called into that, which I don't think anybody did.
Yeah.
No, back then, I'm getting older. Back then, people did not, even people called into ministry in kind of worship arts and that sort of stuff. There were very few people who were saying, I feel called into ministry, and I feel called into ministry to do technology,
Yeah.
media, that sort of thing.
There weren't a lot of
You had some that were called into like
ProPresenter or power.
communications or whatever. Yeah, ProPresenter didn't exist yet. Media
Right.
Shout was the first thing to come out.
There you go. LimeWire.
Media Shout. Yeah, I was a LimeWire guy. Another story about that, but it shut me down pretty quick. So, like I was saying earlier, I think however you need to get that foundational knowledge and education, do that.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, college is a good way to do it.
Right.
For other people, maybe college isn't your thing, partly
Mm-hmm.
because not every college or university has done a good job for people like us to streamline it in a way where it's actually going to prepare you for what you're wanting to do.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So I highly recommend looking for colleges that have a degree that has to do with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And really push them on it. Like ask them, okay, what's the
yeah.
curriculum? Most importantly, what is the degree plan for this? And look at that and figure out, is this just a bunch of fluff and there's only a few things that actually pertain?
Yeah.
Then that could be a huge waste of money.
Yeah.
What I don't recommend is just going and trying to figure it out on your own.
Which for the record, I did not do that. So I was a YouTube vet by the time that I was a junior in high school. I had like grinded YouTube like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. And then like junior year of high school, I finally was like hitting it big, like really getting where I wanted to be. And then so senior year comes around and I'm like, okay, I'm prepped. I'm pretty ready to like go to college. Like I was excited. And I toured like Savannah College of Art and Design, like Rochester Institute of Technology, DBU, like just a bunch of schools. And one, all of them were out of budget for me.
Yep.
Two, when I went and like basically grilled the like head of department, it was like a little disappointing. And then the other metric that I looked at, which by the way, I got to say these schools have changed a ton since 4 years ago when I was looking at schools.
They have.
But SCAD at the time, the photography majors and film majors were not putting out work that I couldn't do at the time.
Right.
So that was a metric I looked at. I went and looked at their best portfolios of their students that they would put on their website, and the work that was coming out of SCAD was at a level that I could recreate.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to go and spend my money, which it was $65,000 a year. I didn't have that. And that was before like camera rentals and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, now SCAD is different. SCAD is like their photography major has increased tenfold, and there are people putting stuff out that I'm embarrassed by. I'm like, wow, like if you were my schoolmate, I would be terrified. So it has changed
really
a lot.
what you should be
hoping for.
If you're gonna go to college, you should be getting challenged. You should be getting fed.
Those peer reviews should
all
hurt.
of those things. Yeah, absolutely.
Like it shouldn't just be like, oh, well, was this a choice? And you're like, yeah, that was a creative choice. Okay. Like, that's not peer review, you know? Which a lot of schools, that is how they peer review. It's like, oh, you messed this thing up. Well, that was a creative choice.
I would say, like, if you're going to take the effort to go into college, like, don't just take the classes. Like, get involved in, like, the other opportunities they have there. Like, one thing I would have done differently is, like, 100% get more into the broadcast side of things. Like, I had to take, like, the required 20 hours for, like, the 5 classes that I required the 20 hours. But, like, I was never just, like, working there, like learning there. So it's like, you know, like they basically train you pretty fast, and like you get good at one thing, you just do that for 20 hours, knock it out. It's like knocking it off versus like actually getting plugged in when you're like learning, okay, and I'm gonna go from camera op to okay, maybe I want to direct one day, and like taking the steps up, which I don't think you necessarily get from just taking the classes.
No, you don't. And I think one of the things that I wish I understood better when I was in college that I wish everybody would think about at the college age is you're never going to have that much freedom and opportunity again.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly,
You know?
connections, like
so true.
raw, if you're like wanting to make short films, which a lot of our audience wants to make short films or films in general, you'll never have as much access to someone who
Right.
you can say, hey, 5 minutes, come to my house.
Mhm.
We're shooting a short film right now. It'll take 6 hours. We can edit it together. It'll be trashed. We'll put it up.
Mhm.
Done. Like, you'll never have that access like you want.
Dude,
in
or
college.
even just access to a studio to be able to go and use the lighting setup that
Yeah.
you need. Like,
And like so many, like Biola University is doing really well right now. I've seen a lot of two of my friends go there. Their camera department, like they have a lot of gear that you can access easily. And then on top of that, students who are like hungry for
Mhm.
like making stuff. And they have like a movie coming out, or it's like a series or a movie or something coming out this week. And it like looks like good. Like they're not
Yeah.
just shooting like wide open to get like a Netflix look and then being like, okay, it looks good, we're done. No, they're like making super intentional choices, and that's the kind of like creative space.
And I think that's why it's important to do the research for whether it's full-blown universities or possibly some of these other entities that are out there that do
Yeah.
training. You know,
Mhm.
there's some great places out there that, and all of them have amazing YouTube channels where you can, spend a little bit of money and get some legit training.
Right.
But I would just say research all of that. Find out who the professors are. One of the reasons I love teaching at DBU, I do one class a semester because I have this job. And
Yeah.
I'm not.
You're a little busy.
I've
think,
got
yeah.
plenty to do, but I love, first of all, for me, I feel like God has put it on me to pour into guys like y'all who are early in your careers,
Yeah.
or especially in college, like you may not even know exactly what you're going to be doing yet.
100%.
I wish I'd had someone like me
Mhm.
pouring into me.
That's what we said. We were
You
like,
know?
there's not enough like content being put out that's casual, that's engaging, and that's educational at the
Yeah.
same time that like you want to relate to. And so that's why we kind of started this. Is I was like, what if there was like a vlog style educational platform that I could watch that's not just Peter McKinnon, like
Right.
when he's so late in
Which
his career.
That's great stuff.
Yeah, he's amazing. But then it's like, okay, well, he has 5 Leicas. Like, I don't have 5 Leicas. I have a Rebel
Yeah.
T7. You know, it's like, how am I going to relate to that? And so we wanted to bring that
And that's,
threshold down.
and the value I bring, and you've heard this spiel. You may not have listened to
We'll
it at
see,
the
we'll
time,
see.
but I tell my students, look, this is why I'm here, and the value that you're going to get from me is, yeah, we're going to talk about, like in the class that you took, we're going to talk about lighting for video, and we're going to cover the basics of it. We're going to get a little bit advanced, and when you leave this class, you will, if you work hard, you will have a better understanding of how all this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
But the main value that I'm bringing to you as students is I do this every day.
Right.
And
Which a lot of professors don't.
Yeah,
They-
that's
Let's
they
true.
be
don't.
honest.
no,
Nor have they in 10 years.
and I won't name names, but I had professors when I was in school who were very good, but the last time they were in the field was 15, 20 years prior to that.
Yeah, they don't know what an Aperture 600D is.
And
They're
and
used to
like in
fin
my
out.
case, it was music too.
Yeah.
And so I learned so much from them, but then I actually spent a semester in Austria
Mhm.
where I was studying voice from a lady who was a previous opera singer,
Dang.
but all of her current students were either opera or musical theater people actively in lead roles and all these things. And so what I was able to glean from her in a semester just kind of blew my mind.
Mhm.
So I want to bring that into the class so that these students understand, yeah, we're going to cover the technical things, but also you need to be able to write well enough that when you make
Yeah.
your resume, I don't throw it out when I read the cover letter.
Yeah.
Because I
It's
can't
fair.
understand what you're saying. It's all of these other things like
Mm-hmm.
how do we collaborate well? How do we be good people to each other so that we want to be hired
Be
or
on
want to hire
time,
you,
like,
be on
yeah.
time, turn in your work,
a big
whatever it may be. Stuff that's outside of just the technical part, because
Right.
everything I teach in class, you could learn on YouTube.
Yes. That's fair.
So it's the other things that I'm bringing to it. And that's what I love about what DBU is doing, and plenty of other universities are doing it too. Bringing in these adjunct teachers who are
Yes.
bringing the real time, I just did this yesterday,
Yeah.
let me show you what's going on
Yeah.
experience.
That's fair. Yeah, that's good. So let's get into a little bit of like GOC tech.
Wait,
and
before we get into that,
okay.
because I feel like we cut off half of his story. We like, oh, you went.
I did.
It's a long
I did
story.
do
And the
that.
older I get, the longer the story gets.
That
too.
is how life works. Some would say.
So at that point in time, when I was working at Washita, working part time at the church, I was doing both, right? So I'm leading worship, what I thought I was called to be doing, and then I'm doing all this tech stuff, which I just love to do. And an interesting thing happened where I was, and not many people know this story, but I was supposed to be getting a job offer from Prestonwood
There you go.
to join the worship team as an associate. And as the person was on his way to actually give me the offer letter, it all got stopped. There was some big hiring freeze, and it was just this weird thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, what?
That's how
What?
budgets work. Yeah.
Like, it's just like, for me, it was kind of crushing. Like, this all made sense. And that was in the late fall. And then first thing in January, the very next year, a guy named Chris Hinkle, who used to be the tech director here at Prestonwood, gave me a call and said, hey, I hear you're doing some great stuff with lighting. We need a lighting director full-time. They'd never had a full-time lighting person here, which is crazy. Can you send me a portfolio? It's like, sure. And I just grabbed all the pictures I had of lighting stuff
it's
that
like,
I'd
what is
done
that?
and
What's a
sent
lighting
that
portfolio?
on, and they hired me.
There you go.
And it was a weird moment because my wife, Jenny, and I, we'd only been married for 2 years at that point, and we were pregnant with our son, and all these things were kind of coming together, and we had to sit down and be like, okay, this would mean that I'm going to go full-time, totally into media.
Yeah.
And so all this worship stuff that I've been preparing for my whole life just takes a back seat. And I felt strongly that this is what God was calling me to do, but logically it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you have a degree, like,
You
you
know?
have experience in the field, and then you're like, oh, well, this is something fun I've been doing.
Yeah,
Here
and
we
it
go.
was, and I tell you what it was a really good test for me, and I didn't recognize it at the time, so thank goodness I feel like I passed the test. We have to be careful about what we allow to define us. And for me, it would have been real easy to say, no, I'm a worship leader.
Right.
I'm a musician. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's who I am.
Right.
And because I was able to hold on to that loosely, now again, I'm not taking any credit because I wasn't thinking about this consciously. This wasn't a deal where I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this
Who
up or
am
whatever.
I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah.
was not that smart back then. I'm not sure I'm that smart now. But I was able to do that. And so I came here and started doing lighting.
There you go.
So short version of the rest of the story, I was here for 2 years, learned so much. And by the way, here is where I really started getting into lighting for video because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about cameras. I knew a decent amount about sound. I knew a lot about lighting. Cameras, never touched them, never dealt with it, nothing at all. But I would hang around the engineers, and I would hang around guys like Chris Hinkle and others who would help me understand, hey, your lighting does this to the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Okay, here's this. Here's how we white balance. Here's why we white balance. Here's how we do this. Here's what this scope is. Here's why the scope matters. Here, all this stuff that I'd had no formal training in, but I'm realizing because I'm hanging out with guys who know their stuff, okay, this is important. I don't fully understand it, but clearly I need to know something about it.
Yeah.
And so interesting kind of leap happened where Cross Church up in Northwest Arkansas, which this was before it was Cross Church, they were building their Pinnacle Hills campus, and a good friend of mine was the worship leader there, and a different good friend of mine was the lighting designer that they'd hired to do it, and those two didn't know each other, and they didn't know that they knew me, and they both came up with my name for coming up there to be the tech director for that campus. Which, when they called me, I said, that's great, I'm honored, but I am not qualified to be a tech director. I'm a lighting guy. Like, I know lighting, and I know enough about sound to do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about video and all the rest of it. And they're like, it's no problem. We mainly need a lighting person here anyway, which was not true. They needed all the things.
Yeah, they need a lot.
But they had faith in me, so and it was clearly a God thing. Now, keep in mind, when Jenny and I got married, she was from Dallas. I was living in Arkadelphia. I love to fish, so I had no problem with Arkadelphia. she came over, and it was pretty miserable because
There's no
Arkadelphia and
Chewies.
Dallas.
I mean, yeah.
There's no Chewies. There's no. I mean, we got a Cracker Barrel while we
Yeah.
were there, which was a huge deal. We ate a Cracker Barrel a lot, but convincing her that Northwest Arkansas is not the same as Southern Arkansas was interesting.
That is difficult.
Anybody who's been to Northwest Arkansas, you know what I'm talking about. It's absolutely beautiful up there. So we went up there, and I was there for 6 years. And, man, that's where I really started, from a technology perspective, I really started to put down some roots and learn some things, get a better foundation, because I was responsible for all this stuff.
Right.
And so I had to do a lot of on-the-job training for the video system side of things, cameras, routers, switchers, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And started kind of getting into directing too.
There you go.
But I got to lead worship occasionally.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice.
That's a party. I mean, that's the best of both
It was,
worlds.
yeah, it was really fun. And then after that, found my way down to First Baptist Dallas. And by the way, all of these things happened, number one, because of God.
Mm-hmm.
That's how God does this.
Right.
But one of the things that God uses to help direct you is networking.
Mm-hmm.
Just networking, getting to know people, not burning bridges.
Yeah.
When I left Prestonwood, I left on good terms. There were things I liked and didn't like about Prestonwood, but when I left, I was moving on to the next deal. Didn't burn any bridges here. I had made a lot of connections here that turned out it's not a big world.
It's not.
It's not.
DFW is
really
not
not.
that big. Yeah.
Even bigger than DFW.
Especially
So
in
for
the media
example,
world.
one of my biggest influences in my life, especially in this world, was a guy named John Grable. And John Grable was this kind of like almost mythic character. John Grable was the original director of the Barney Show.
Oh, yes.
He was the one who kicked off Barney and got all that stuff going. He worked at the Richards Group. He worked at Prestonwood. He's worked at all sorts of different places. When I was at Prestonwood the first time, he was the consultant for PowerPoint Ministries.
Okay, yeah.
Jack Graham's broadcast ministry. So every month I'm hanging out with John Grable. John Dempsey, who you got to meet as our guest lecturer, was the DP who'd come in and work on stuff. And when I got up to Northwest Arkansas, it turns out Ronnie Floyd was also using John Grable as a consultant. So I'm continuing that networking. And then John Grable ends up at First Baptist Dallas. And he starts calling me, poking at me to see if I'm interested in coming down there, which I wasn't initially. But it's these relationships that you build that helps you learn the stuff you need to learn, but also gets you the places that God wants you to go.
Right.
So don't isolate yourself. You've got to be getting out there, not just meeting people and trading business cards, but like
for the purpose of meeting people.
develop relationships. Relationships are so important, whether it's with other peers or whether it's with vendors that you talk to, whatever it is. So went down to First Dallas and got down there right as they were building up all the huge campus that they put in down there. And, man, was there for 6 years. And First Dallas is kind of like Prestonwood. Like each year is like a dog year. It's like 7 years.
Right.
Like because of how much that goes on, the experience you get. And I loved that place. Robert Jeffress is an amazing pastor to work for. And that place, they know what they're doing. They plan it. It's the most strategic church I've ever been a part of.
I don't know if you know, but that's where I am now. And so First Dallas is like the organization and structure there is like phenomenal. Like
and this is coming from someone who is big on organization.
Dude,
and someone who's
like
not big on
It's
organization.
like I like seeing how some churches had done like media stuff. It's like when I accepted the role, I went into it thinking like kind of was gonna be like other churches that I'd been at, and then like it was just like nothing I was expecting.
It's not like any church you've
so
ever
good.
been at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's man, because of the strategic nature of what they do, they can accomplish things. And I think God honors that strategy that they put together. And so that was, as you're feeling now, like you're just learning all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's just amazing how God changes things and moves things around and creates new connections. And I ended up back here at Prestonwood.
There you go.
And
you've been here how long now?
Came back in 2017, so it's 8 years in October.
There you go. And quite the difference has been created in the past 8 years,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I've been here to watch it all.
A
so.
lot's been going on. We've been doing stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about some like things that, well, I want to get into GOC, but I want to talk about like your philosophies on stuff, because there are things that you're really good at. But what is something that you've gotten good at that you weren't good at before? So whether that's organization,
that's easy
or
for me.
yeah.
I'm not a people person.
Okay.
I mentioned I like fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I like fishing alone.
Yeah. You like the
I
silence.
I like to be alone. And so I'm truly an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a difficult job for somebody who's an introvert.
Right.
And to be real honest, it's a Holy Spirit thing that
Mm-hmm.
allows me to do what I do. I mean, my wife used to joke with me more often than she does now that she's like, I don't understand why those people like you, because I'm able to turn something on, and it's
Right.
not that it's fake. It's just that God does something with me.
It's spirit-filled.
And so,
Yeah.
but I used to, even like back when I was working at Cross Church, man, I was the sort of person that's like, I don't care what other people think of me, and I got no problem with that. And I'm still not a people pleaser, but I've learned,
Maybe
it does matter what people think of me as far as like, am I approachable? Am I compassionate? Am I empathetic? All those things.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I started doing years ago, kind of by accident, was just a lot of, I don't know the way to say this without it sounding
Like you're the
off-putting,
worst person. Yeah.
well, like just self-discovery. Like the better way to say is self-aware.
Okay.
I actually, while I was working on my master's degree at DBU not that long ago, back in like 2018, there was one class I took where we had to read this book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, I think is the name of the book. And it was just all about learning how to be self-aware, learning like just understanding who you are and how you impact other people. And I started figuring out, hopefully early enough, that, I can't just be this confrontational jerk
Right.
all the time.
Right.
That's not going to get me very far. And I had so many guys that I worked for or that I worked with who were that way. And you can just see this like cap, like, okay, they're never going to be able to do more than this because nobody wants to work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how good they were. They could be really good at their job, but nobody cared.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I realized, okay, I need to figure out what that means for me and how do I improve this. And what's interesting is as you do that, you start to become aware of how other people are around you. And I think that's what's developed me into the leader that I am today.
Right. Because you lead a big team.
I
mean,
do.
A lot of volunteers.
We have
too.
an unusually large staff team, and we have a ginormous volunteer team here. And that doesn't happen very well if I'm only looking out for my own best interest.
Right.
Yeah.
People, I want people to enjoy working here. I want people to enjoy working for me. I'm a firm believer that, if we're on the same team, it doesn't mean that we're going to go out every night after work and have beers.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
I actually don't like beer, but like I would, if you were on my team, I'm like, man, I don't want to hang out with that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Then that's not going to work.
Yeah, because you're spending at least 8 hours a day together,
and we
like on a media team,
and under high pressure. So
Yes.
like we've got to be able to get along well. So I say all that to say, that was one of the big things for me that I never thought was going to be important, was just figuring out who I am, being more aware of myself and how I can better help people around me, whether that's the people who report to me or the people that I report up to.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah, we always talk about like being a good hang, because one of our friends, like, he goes all around the world. He just did a spot for Turkish Airlines. Like, they flew him out. Like, he does a lot of cool work. He's our age. He's young. And he always says, like, the most important thing is that people want to hang out with you.
Right.
And, like, he's just a videographer. So, like, he really could just hide behind the camera.
Sure.
Because all he's there to do, like, he's done stuff on iPhone and he's done stuff on, like, Alexas.
Yeah.
So, like, it doesn't matter. But, like, whatever tool you're using, like, you are like what people are paying for, and so it's like, okay, how am I gonna be like? Am I just gonna be someone they bring in and they're like, oh great, yeah, I'll bring him in, he's fine, or are they gonna be excited to hang out with you, and also you're putting out amazing work?
Yeah.
You know, there's a well-known saying out there that you're only as good as your last gig.
Right.
And that applies to that as well. Because there's a lot of people who can do what we do.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of choice.
Right.
Now, you get into an upper echelon where it's like, well, that guy is the guy.
It's a different level.
And you know what? That guy is going to get hired no matter what because of how good he is. But there's only a few people that are good enough to be jerks.
Right.
Yeah.
And people still hire them.
Right.
And the three of us are not at that level. I can tell
We're
you.
not.
I can tell you that. There's any number of other people who can do what we do.
Yeah.
And people
There's
will
a lot of
hire
dudes who can do a
based on
crappy
that.
podcast.
You know? Well, like, I mean, you think about makeup artists. You know, we're going to hire a makeup artist to do our pastor's makeup based on A, how good is that person at doing the makeup, and B, how comfortable do we feel with that person being in front of our pastor's face up close and personal for 15, 20 minutes at a time.
Often.
You know?
Yeah.
And then for the full-time staff deal, like when we're interviewing people for a position here, the technical capabilities are kind of like the low bar, like, yeah, you got to be able to do this at a certain level. Now, do we like you?
Yeah.
And we're not going to hire somebody that we don't like.
Yeah. That's
you know?
good. Yeah.
I don't know what that sounds like, but
Well, I mean, yeah, it's fair. It's like the same thing for our teams. Like we are slowly having to get more into producer roles where we bring on a team and it's like, okay, here's the budget, and then we all split up whatever we need.
Well, I was gonna say we've had whether it's a wedding, whether it's a production, whether it's like other podcasts that we filmed with other directors. You know probably what I'm talking about. Who we've had that just like, I will never work with that person again, just because like the way I was treated or the way some things were said, and it's like, if you can't be a good hang, then like you're not
I'm not
gonna
work with you. Like
what's
imagine
his
doing
name?
GOC.
Just a name.
Well, yeah,
Dox him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've been invited back to work on stuff, and then we're like, no. But like there's hundreds. There's like 150 volunteers for media. Like imagine if your right hand man was someone that like you couldn't be fun around. You know, like
No,
then you'd
I
be
can't
you're
imagine.
up here during GFC probably like 80, 90 hours a week or more.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, if I can't hang out with you, it's like,
I don't want to be miserable.
yeah.
You know?
And
also,
also, I don't want
want
to pay someone to be miserable around me.
I am a firm believer that we should absolutely love to do the work that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's not hard sometimes. We don't have difficult seasons, but overall, like, I should not dread getting up and going to work. I should not dread going into a meeting with this particular person because of all the things.
Right.
And, you know, part of that is what translated into what I really started to discover at First Dallas, a little bit at Cross Church as well, but First Dallas kind of like focused me in on the whole volunteer thing. Because, you know, at First Dallas, as you well know, great team, but it's a lean team.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of folks on the team.
Yeah.
And so the reliance on volunteers for live production aspects is really strong. And when we were building the new building down there, man, if you've never been to First Dallas or seen any of the videos on it, the technology is pretty insane. And we were putting all this technology in, and again, I came on like as the walls were already going up.
Okay.
So I'm kind of learning. First of all, I'm having to learn First Dallas.
Right. As a culture,
then, and that was primary, and then I'm starting to get into, okay, so what are we doing in the building? And then I find out about this screen and the projectors.
Oh, so you were there for that. I wasn't sure when the screen got put in. Was it when they built the building, or was it added later?
No, it was when they built the building.
Is this what kind of screen? LED or?
No, it's a
iMac?
projector screen.
Okay, yeah.
And it's 120, 140 feet wide.
And it's still the one they're using today?
I was just back. I just
so
was
that's
back
the
there
photos. The photos that I was looking at on the Instagram today, that's a projector.
It's 7 projectors.
No, there was a screen below though that you're talking about, but the high one's a projector. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, for the Christmas deal? Yeah.
I'm just trying to get.
No, the high one's so it's I think it's if I remember right, it's 120, 140 feet wide, one single seamless screen, 7 projector blend, and so I start figuring out.
Speaking of, holy cow, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big screen.
How many is that? 7, 8?
That is 7 projectors.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we should.
we updated those this year. But then I realized, we're doing all this crazy stuff, shooting a television show, and we're not adding any more staff members.
Yeah.
So I've got to take this volunteer team, who when I got there was about, I guess maybe 20 people on the team, and we were in the historic sanctuary, which we had, I think it was a 5-camera shoot, so it wasn't anything to scoff at, but it was a little scrappy, and and it was good, it was fine, but it was also the sort of thing where, all right, service is starting. Do we have a camera 5 operator yet? No, he's still in Sunday school.
Yeah,
and
his kid's in preschool. One second.
And so there were camera operators that I didn't meet for months because they would show up after the service started and leave as soon as it was over. And I just realized, okay, we gotta figure something out here. And on top of
there needs
that,
to be ownership. Yeah.
these people are going to have to learn how to use all of this gear.
Yeah.
Top of the line, broadcast standard stuff. So it was kind of a fear-based thing, if I'm being honest, to realize, okay, I have to come up with a way to teach these people how to do this successfully without freaking them out, without,
being like,
making them run away, and without that.
Yeah.
And so I'm a very systems-oriented brain guy. I want to know, if we're getting something from point A to point B, I want to know every stop along the way. How's it going?
I was explaining to Luke your ClickUp. Deal.
Yeah. That's a good example
and
of that.
A beautiful thing that you've brought campus-wide now, across 2 campuses. Because now it's like, okay, everyone knows, not that you are Mr. ClickUp for Prestonwood, but that you...
I don't want to be, but
that
no.
you brought this in, and now it's like, okay, maybe we don't like this now, but when year 3 comes around and we need to go back to year 1 and figure out what document we use, we're good.
What was your thought process on, because I know we talked about this a little bit in our class, but of using ClickUp versus the other platforms?
Like Asana, Trello.
So I'm a huge ClickUp fan, and I've used a bunch of them. I've used a bunch of them. And it's because most of the project management tools that are out there, they have a philosophy. And they design their software around that philosophy, which means that you have to adopt that philosophy if you want to use their software the way that it was intended. And rarely does that work well.
Or constantly fight it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah,
it's
me and Luke have so many...
Yeah, because it's like, I like this, and this, but I need to do this. And the software's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, but I do. And so when I found ClickUp, not only was it a fraction of the cost of the product I was using before.
With constant updates.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it had all of these features available. And you got in, and it's like, oh, do you like to see it in boxes? We've got boxes. You like to see it in a Gantt chart? We got Gantt charts.
Yeah. Hope you like circles.
To see it in a calendar? We've got that. And it's just whatever you want. Now that means that it was a little overwhelming.
Hard to learn, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, here's a totally open environment for you to create whatever you want to create. And so the upside of that is we can create whatever we want to create. And so whatever we dream up system-wise, we can then adapt it and pull in the tools that they've got to do it.
And I think that's the big thing. So when I was thinking, I have known you for, I've known you personally probably for 5 years. Yeah. And I've known of you for a little longer than that. Just because it's oh, Brian Bailey's doing this. Brian Bailey's doing this. And it's like, oh, great. Who is this guy? Because you're a behind the scenes role, technically.
Yes.
So when I was thinking about you as a person, the thing that came to mind was okay, when he does something, it's done in a strategic manner that has checkpoints essentially, and then also you build systems that are built to last. And so I kind of want to talk about that because this is a very gear heavy podcast.
Yeah.
And so why don't you get into a little bit of how you make decisions on your teams and your gear, and then your work style that makes it more built to last. Because I know your goal is, if you were to walk away from Prestonwood right this second, nothing would change. The whole goal is that it's an upstanding platform, and you've instilled that into a couple people who've instilled that into me, which is
our
volunteers need to be rigorous enough to where if I wake up sick on a Sunday, it doesn't matter. I just have to drop off a camera bag and it's done. Yeah. So like, what is that kind of, how has that evolved in your life, and what age do you think that kind of started?
Oh, well, I mean, if you ask my therapist, which I have, for me, like all of this for me came from a very young age where, man, I've got awesome parents. My dad passed away in 2007. He was an amazing man, but he was the sort of guy that, he was an incredibly godly man, had an impact on a lot of people's lives. Mm-hmm. But he was very much that kind of way that I had become of like, I'm going to do this. I know this is right. I know this is the thing to do. This is what God called me to do. I don't give a crap what anybody else says. Mm-hmm. And people loved him for that. Mm-hmm. People also hated him for that.
Right,
but mostly
it's a little polarizing.
Yeah, it is polarizing. But it was the way that he needed to be, and it was the way that God had him to be. And for me growing up with that, there was a lot of like just kind of understood things. Like I always tell the story about how when I was a kid, man, Saturday mornings, I don't know if y'all have ever had this experience, but man, Saturday morning I could sleep in pretty good. And my dad would come in, open the door, and he'd say, all right, I'm going to mow the yard, and then close the door. And I had a choice to make.
Right.
It was not verbalized, but I had a choice to make. I can either get up, go help with the yard, and enjoy the rest of the weekend, or I can go back to sleep and then deal with whatever the consequences of that are going to be.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I think that led to me being very much like the self-starter and the looking for, that sort of deal. But at the same time, I look back on it and realize, well, that was like, wouldn't it not have been easier just to say, hey, Brian, it's time to mow the yard.
Right.
I want you to come and mow the yard with me.
Which is how I kind of operate, is like,
right.
Yeah. I was going to ask Luke, like, do you think you're a procrastinator? Because like procrastination, you can live in that, and you can get away with it for your whole life. But I was wondering, like,
a lot of people do.
Do you think you're a procrastinator, or like, how does? Yeah,
I'm a procrastinator.
Okay.
But I'm very conscious of it, and
right.
It kills me.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Like I beat myself up over my procrastination.
Okay.
So much. That's another therapist conversation, I think.
Yeah, we'll save that.
But because of all of that, like, I think it's so, I used to say that I'm very confrontational, but the reality of it is I want clarity.
Okay, yeah.
So like if you and I were texting, or if we had a conversation here and something was off, I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to be able to walk away from this and be like, yeah, I don't know what his problem was. I'm going to walk away going, I wonder what his problem was. No, we need to make this right. Yeah. And so I need clarity. And that's one of the things, man, if you've ever worked for somebody that doesn't provide clarity.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
It's miserable. Yeah. And so that's like the biggest pressure I feel as a leader of a large team is I always have the fear that I have not given them the resources they need to do their jobs well. Because everybody on my team is perfectly capable to do what they do.
Right.
But if I don't give them what they need to do that, whether that's training or just the right information or the right resources, then that's on me. And I'm scared to death that that's going to happen.
You're going to bottleneck yourself.
That's something that I've had to learn recently, because I was at a law firm where it was very much like if they didn't need to know, like, do not bother them with that information. And now going to First Dallas, they're like, over communication is like best. Like, you want to like make sure. And I was like, making that jump for me, I was like, it was a weird mind flip, because I was so used to being like, oh gosh, like, don't need to bother them with this, don't need to bother them with this. Like, no, like, I want to know that. And so
yeah, I'm a big time over communicator, and the past 3 teams I've been on have been under communicators. Like, so when I get hired, it's a all-in-one kind of job. It's not really like, oh, he's really good at this, let's have him do this. It's a kind of like, okay, well, you can kind of go make videos, like go take photos and post them. And so I get really tired of that.
I can't live like that.
Yeah. And so I constantly hear like stories of y'all's media team, and I'm like, dang, like I'm a little jealous because I'm like, man, I wish that I could be, you know, I wish that I had a little more help other than just go be creative.
Right.
You know?
Well, and that's one of the, and that's a difficult thing on the creative side of things.
Mhm.
So for the tech people, this works pretty well because
does.
they like the clarity.
Yeah.
They want to know what's my checklist, that sort of deal. The creative folks in general don't like a lot of structure in that way, or at least
Yeah.
that's what they have come to believe.
What I say is every creative, if you can draw them a box and then put them in the box and let them do whatever they want in that box,
Right.
then they're good. But
you
like,
got to give them the box.
you have to give them the box, but then
'Cause
you
then
have
they'll
to be
they'll
completely
just sit there and be
hands-off.
like, I have
Yeah.
no idea what to
Otherwise,
do.
well, so I'm not like a self-motivated person. So like I've wasted 2 opportunities. Everyone's always like, I don't have any regrets in life. Blah, blah. I have 2 regrets in life. Big regrets. I missed 2 opportunities to make a photo book, like where I go out, document this one thing
Okay, yeah.
as a project,
Yeah.
take all the images, write, like put it into a book, sell the book. I've missed 2 opportunities. And that's like one of my biggest aspirations in life. And now it'll never be as easy. I'm married now. I have a house. I live in
Yeah,
Texas.
getting married's the worst.
I
Yeah.
know. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I love my wife. But like I'll never be as free to do that ever again.
Yeah.
And so I'm like not a self-starter in that way. Like I took all that time and I played Fortnite. Like let's be real.
Yeah.
So
Which valuable skill?
is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched my son play Fortnite, and
Like what was
I mean, there's some sort of skill in there, but I'm just not sure what.
Hey, it's better for camera ops with all the rise of robot cameras.
I think
Low
now
key.
that's
Tracking?
legit. That's legit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that clarity is what then pours into everything else that we're doing. So whether it's with team or whether it's with gear, processes, whatever. And the thing is, it takes work.
It does. It does take work.
So I'll tell you a brief story. So I was
You
talking
can't
about
use AI to be more clear sometimes.
not the way you would think you should be able to use it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So with this first Dallas thing, man, we built the building. We developed this training program for the volunteers. It went really, really well. And the training program is based off of just how my brain works, honestly, which is a lot of it comes down to how do you learn anything? You know, I come back to how do you learn language? What do you learn
Right.
first? You learn the alphabet. Then you learn how to take the letters and put them into words, and you learn how to put the words. But for some reason in technology, when we take a new volunteer or even somebody in, our trade, and we're like, okay, I need you to operate this camera.
Yeah, learn these 3 things at once. Yeah.
And you're going to start with, all right, here's what happens if the pastor starts to move like this. It's like, hold on, what's a camera? And how do I turn it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, big one.
And then what do the words mean that are on the buttons? And then what happens if I push those buttons?
And if you're on a Sony, it might take you 11 years to learn the menu.
It might. The menus.
It's so bad.
The menus.
I will say Canon's not like that. Which is
I'm
why
sure they're
Canon's
not.
menu experience is
it's heavenly. They even have a guided mode.
I will say the new Sony switcher, they've changed the menu and it is life changing.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's
Point 1.
It's a beautiful thing. We don't have that switcher, but it looks really
Sad.
nice. But so like you have to start with all of that.
Right.
And because of that, it takes a lot of work to sit down and think about, okay, what do I need somebody to know? And then where do I start? And then how do we build it into that? And that's where that training program comes from. So we put all that to work, and then we had a meeting. There's a group called every Baptist church, every Southern Baptist church ministry has what's called a metro group.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so there's a metro group of worship pastors, of senior pastors, exec pastors. Well, there's one for media and communications too. And I've been in that group since 2007, and we hosted our annual conference at First Dallas back in 2014, I think. And they asked me to give a presentation on this training program. So I'm in a room with 40 or 50 of the largest Baptist churches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy to be in front of them, and I explain the program that we did, and here's how it works, here's what we did, blah, blah, blah. And then I left all this time at the end. I said, so what about you guys? Like, what are y'all doing to train your volunteers? Because, I'm thinking,
Am I doing
This
this
is just
right?
me.
Yeah.
And it was crickets.
Mm.
I'm not even so I tell people this. I'm not one of those guys who's like, and it was at that moment
Yeah.
that I realized I don't have those moments in my life except for this one and maybe 2 others. It was at that moment it made me angry because I'm looking at all these other churches and I realized you're telling me that none of you guys have put the work into arguably the most important thing that we deal with every week, which is our production quality, and we're all using volunteers.
Right.
Most of you guys have fewer staff members than I do.
I bet. Yeah.
What's happening?
Mhm.
And that just kind of lit a fire under me. And I realized that most churches, when they're trying to train a volunteer, they're like, yeah, show up a little bit earlier. We'll show you how the camera works, and it'll be great. And that's why they have terrible experiences, and that's why so many churches look the way they do.
And they
online.
lose their volunteers quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and again, because of that fear I have of lack of clarity,
It's
I don't want to
want
waste anybody's time.
It's a lack of ownership too, because like
Yes.
So whenever I train my students, I'm in a next like cross grade role. So like I go from infants to seniors in high school. So like
The infants are tough to train. Too.
they are hard to
Yeah.
train. They don't like holding the camera. It's too
they're
heavy.
Not even
They
potty
say.
trained yet.
I know.
Yeah.
But whenever I train them, I try and get them to go to like a different age group because it takes like, instead of them like, oh, I'm with my peers, like I'm in my comfort zone, they're like, oh wait, I'm in a position of authority, and also, oh, Cort's not here. So like, okay, it's on me to get this section covered.
Yeah.
You know? So like that all of a sudden puts like, and that's what it is with follow spots and broadcast cameras that I love, of like a pipeline to like getting into experience and getting into like excellence, is there's like an immediate punishment if you mess up, because like someone's gonna be able to tell.
Someone's
immediate.
Like it's not like a handheld camera, like if
follow spot's the worst,
right?
Because at least if you mess up on a camera, they can switch to
away.
another camera. When you turn that light on in the middle of darkness,
right,
you are the only thing that 5,000 people are looking at.
Exactly.
It's a scary
And you
feeling.
can't just go in the camera and delete what you messed up. No. Like you're
Not
live.
quickly.
So
No, this is happening right now.
That's what's funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about GOC Tech, and then
Sure.
I also want to give you a chance to like address your heart behind GOC, because I know everyone has a separate role in GOC. So we got Andy doing the creative, and we got Pastor like doing the evangelism. We got you doing the media, which is like a corner piece of like this, because
There's a lot
it
to
makes it all
Yeah.
like actually happen.
It's a media-driven show.
I mean, otherwise you'd have kids on risers, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit first about your kind of philosophy behind GOC, and then why as a church we do GOC, and
Sure.
specifically, I'm a big stickler on, okay, if we have the highest quality piece a year, we're going to use it. We're not just going to use something like workflow is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
But I'd sacrifice a little bit of workflow to get a better image quality.
Yeah.
And I understand that you're kind of in the same boat on quality
sure.
and everything. So as a church who isn't subject to taxation and stuff, where a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like, why are you spending this money?
Yeah.
Talk about like why it's important that you're giving your best and why you select the stuff that you do.
Man, that's so much. And
Sorry,
I'll talk about all of it. But, when it comes to GOC, one of the things I love about it, and in the fall, actually, I teach a class at DBU that is about how do you create a production from blue sky to execution. And we use the gift of Christmas as a parallel, and we walk the students through it.
Genuinely, such a good class.
Yeah. And you
Yes,
get to come
it's a lot of
sit,
fun.
which they were just here.
And you get to work backstage for the 3 Saturday shows.
is so fun.
Which is pretty cool.
I feel like it opens up, like, it exposes you to like what a normal class wouldn't. Like, no other class is like
It's like
going to
an
bring you to like
extended field
this
trip.
professional of a production.
Well,
that's
this year specifically is Beyond Broadway. No question. Like,
100%.
Dude, Act 2, like, I was shocked.
I
He
haven't
hasn't
seen it this year.
So this year it's completely different. Like,
I heard they redid it except Drummer Boy.
Yeah. Well,
we
Drummer Boy
redid-
got redone though.
We redid. Yeah, it looks quite a bit different.
It's quite different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to
really-
stay tonight, but he
I
can't.
have to go shoot.
What
the
about
first
tomorrow?
miles.
You can
I
come
can maybe
tomorrow.
come tomorrow if somehow it's possible.
You need to figure it out. You
Well,
need to get
because I'm go.
you and William Kelly
Okay.
need to carpool down here, Peapod, because he wants to come see it too.
Okay.
And he's willing to be late to whatever your call time is.
It's
So you guys can do that
different.
together.
It
Okay,
is
because
different.
that would be great. 'Cause then I'm literally going to Broadway the next week, so I can compare. Side
Yeah.
by
It's
side.
different, but that's what's crazy is the scale of this is
Right.
absolutely insane.
And volunteers.
But
again.
really, the theme behind all of it is collaboration,
Okay.
and that's one of the things that I think is so important for people to understand. Whatever you're doing, whether it's your weekly tech ministry for your church, whether it's a production like this, whether it's what you guys do in your freelance world, collaboration is the key to making everything turn out at the highest possible level.
Right.
And we have a core creative team here. You mentioned a couple of them. There's musical director Jonathan Walker. You've got Kristen Jimenez, who's
Jonathan's
writing
right there.
writing the script. Is Jonathan back there? Hi, Jonathan.
He
We're on a
probably doesn't
podcast.
hear
Dude,
this.
someone was showing me one of the tracks Jonathan made for I don't remember which song it is in Act 2, but I was like,
Dude,
I,
the 12
as someone
Days
who
of
like
Christmas
loves music
song-
but doesn't know music that well, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, that is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
he is a genius.
The 12
no
Days of
doubt.
Christmas song and Hope Around the World. Quite literally, like, they just make me so happy. Just the 12 Days of Christmas song is literally the first graders like dancing.
Yeah.
It's not that like
It's hilarious.
crazy,
Those kids are
but
nuts.
the drums, like the amount of time signature changes is just like
all the different styles
it's
that
beautiful.
are in it.
Yes.
Musically, it's one of the more complex pieces.
yeah,
for
more
them.
difficult, yeah.
especially for the drummer.
Mhm.
But so you have that core group of folks who are doing the script writing, just doing all of the concepts and everything. And that includes a guy named Matt Webb, who's with UVLD, who we contract with to do all of the production design and logistics and things like
Okay.
that. And so there's a collaboration happening there all the way from what could we do, what does the script need to be, what does this song need to feel like. Like, Jonathan doesn't just go into his office, come back out 6 months later and go, here you go.
Yeah, ta-da.
You know, hope you like it. And then the content guy be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do something with this.
Figure this out.
Now, there's always a little bit of that, but overall, everybody's having these discussions. And so the collaboration is what makes a show like this so successful. And the larger scale you get, or the more complex or the higher level of quality that you want, the more collaboration needs to be there.
Right.
And that's one of the things I've had to learn throughout the years is it does no good, even if I am the smartest person in the room,
Mm-hmm.
which is rarely the case.
Agreed.
It does me no good to just hold everything and say, all right, since I am the smartest person,
Yeah.
all of these things are what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that Michael Neal taught me as well. You know, Michael Neal was the worship leader here up until recently, and he's the one who hired me back to Prestonwood. And, I mean, that guy, he's done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And creatively,
Yeah.
he's just so next level. But he was always very open-handed in discussions about, well, I mean, here's kind of what I think, but that doesn't mean it's right. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so having that open-handedness is vital. And that means that pride has to get kicked out
Yeah.
the door,
Yeah.
which is a very difficult thing for all of us
Yeah,
to
especially when it's like your baby. Like,
do. Yeah.
because like when I make a video, it's like my baby, you know, like.
Well, and it also comes back to what I said early on, which is what defines who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is it that gives you value? And if it's your ability to do this or that, then that's hard to let go of.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to find your value in what God has for you and not
Mhm.
what your skill set is.
Which clearly, like, the purpose of GOC is to reach as many people with
Exactly.
the message of Christ as possible. So if you take that and you're like, okay, well, I mean, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to make it as good as possible. But at the end of the day, like, your selfishness is not going to
Yeah.
help reach those people.
Well, and that's, in the creative process, I actually mentioned this to the group last night. I got to speak to the pre-show deal last night. And you got to realize that everything that is designed in this show
Mm-hmm.
is designed in a way to point people to Christ. And you mean Santa Claus?
Yeah.
You mean the flying drummers? Yes, every bit of it. When you come and sit and watch this show, as it goes through, you might be on your way home.
Mm-hmm.
You might be a month later and realize, oh, Yeah, this happened so that this could happen, which puts me in the right mindset for this to happen, and that happens because everybody is weaving this together, and it's not just one person doing it.
Also engaging enough of a show for someone who hates church to come in and be engaged and enjoy it.
I feel like you have to put on like a professional, like at the end of the day, you want to get people in the door. So it's like the better the show is, the more people are going to come. And
right.
So when people,
for better or for worse,
exactly.
whether they hate it or not. Like there's people coming, filming on their phones to post it on the internet and be like, we hate what they're doing here.
Yeah.
But you came to the show, you heard our message. So it's like that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
I mean, really, that's all we can do. You know, our mission statement in worship and media is, you know, to basically set the table. We cultivate experiences that inspire a Christ encounter
and distraction free.
As part of that,
as much
that
as
is,
possible.
and that gets into what you're talking about with gear and everything. Whatever we do, we want it to be. It's got to point everybody to God, and as part of that, it can't be distracting. Mm-hmm. And now, distracting could mean, you know, feedback or the show stopped for some reason. But distracting can also be, like, well, that's not a very good singer.
Yeah.
Distracting can also be, why'd they make that choice on that lighting look?
Yeah, it's like, oh, they didn't have their comms on. Pastor's late on stage by 15 seconds.
So there's all sorts of ways that things can be distracting that are done because of poor planning, poor gear choice, poor, you know, whatever.
Right.
And, you know, that the thing I love about the gift of Christmas is there are people that are going to be walking in tonight at 7:30 who would never step foot in this building.
Or any church.
On a Sunday morning. They're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we are able to do as Prestonwood Baptist Church, because of the resources that we have and the commitment that we have to what we believe God has called us to, is we are creating an environment where they say, yeah, I'll pay $50 for a ticket to come see a great show, or more likely somebody else has paid $50 for the ticket
to
invite them because they're a family member or work colleague or whatever. And, you know, like, what we do at GOC is not our Sunday service.
No.
By the way, for those who like to comment otherwise.
We do not charge people to enter a Sunday service.
We do not charge people for services. We do not fly drummers in services.
Santa doesn't come to Sunday
Santa
service?
is nowhere. Santa's not in the building on Sundays.
There's no reindeer on stage.
Promise you.
Although sometimes that would be kind of fun.
I mean, yeah, that's just what we need is to prove people's points. But we're giving people that different opportunity. Not every church is made to do that. Not every church needs to do that. But we are. And so when we end this run of shows with probably over 600 people that we know of saying that they committed their life to Christ, I mean,
net positive.
That seems like the right thing for us to be doing.
Yeah.
But again, that's because, we've been doing it for 35 years.
Right.
But so we've built into it. But that's just that's what God has blessed Prestonwood to be able to do. We also give money to the poor in our budget.
We will also be able to provide baby formula.
We do. We have a pregnancy center. We have all of these things.
Yeah.
And the gift of Christmas is its own deal. Like the ticket sales are what funds everything that happens. This is not a giant chunk of annual budget money that goes into this
you're
deal.
not tithing to
there's
GOC.
There's all the things, you know. But that's what I love about it, though, is everything. There is spectacle, but none of the spectacle is for the sake of spectacle.
Yeah. Nor does the spectacle, which is my favorite part, nor does the spectacle overshadow the nativity, which is Act 3. So like
because it all points to it. It
you're
all
sitting
goes
in
that
here
way.
and you're like, holy cow, like, can this show get better? Like for me, I know Hope Around the World is a Christian song. That's my favorite part of the show this year. No question about it. And like even I was talking about the 12 Days of Christmas part. Like those parts where it's so elaborate, where there's so much happening on stage, there's a certain point where you're like, wait, how is this going to narrow down into the nativity? But then the nativity comes out and it's just as engaging. And you're like, okay, well, now I get it. Like now it's like not, Santa's not as important in my mind right now.
Anybody, I'll say that I've not known of anybody who has actually sat through the show from start to finish and still had a legitimate problem with whatever we're doing.
Same.
Really? Okay.
I've not known anybody
I've
to
never
do that.
seen a comment that has actually seen the show either. It's just people that have seen clips.
That is true. I always see, which is why I really liked. Well, okay. I love looking at the stuff online because it's like interesting to read.
It is.
And you're like,
It
okay,
is.
I've been in I've done GOC since I was about 3 or 4 years old. Back when they
Mhm.
used to have nutcrackers.
Yeah.
Where we had our rosy cheeks and stuff. So and then
I mean,
I've seen
find some
all
pictures
sides.
of that,
I've
post
seen all
that.
sides of it. Like I've done the media. I haven't done backstage technically, and I've been in it, and I've also been a patron of it when I
Mhm.
couldn't be in it. So I've seen all sides of it, and so it's fun to look at the comments and be like, okay,
Dude.
like where are these people coming from?
Dude.
Right.
Funny story. So I was engaged to my wife, and she was just on Instagram one day, and she like saw a clip from GFC, and she's like made some comment like, "Oh my gosh, like, I can't believe like churches do this." And I looked at it and I was like, "Yeah, like that's Prestonwood. Like I was
Yeah.
in that."
Yeah.
And she was like, "What? Like, well, how could you do that?" And I was like, no. I was like, so I was like, "I'll get us tickets this year and we'll go, and then we'll see like what your opinion is." And we went, and like she walked away. She's like, and now she like will get on TikTok, Instagram, and, like debate people in the comments. Like,
Mhm.
I
No,
love
it's
people
so
like her
good,
because
like-
I'm not going to do it. I only
Yeah.
reply to comments if they're asking a legitimate question.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the sad thing though. All of that doubt, all of that
Disgruntlement. Yeah.
all of
I
that
don't know.
unfortunately is deserved
Mhm.
because there are many churches out there that will do things like this merely for the spectacle of doing
that
it.
is true.
Okay.
They do it because they can. They do it because it's fun. They do it because they've got somebody on their staff who wants to be a rock star but couldn't do that in the real world.
Like we see with that birthday post.
You know?
I mean, you just look at
Um,
like
That's all I'm gonna say.
that, like the Mars Hill documentary. We just look like the way media went on there was crazy. But like, I feel like they probably had a big role in like bringing media into church. I would say, but it also goes to show you like, if that's what you're chasing, then like it's not gonna be a success.
Right.
Whereas like you look at what Preston was doing, it's like as long as Christ is the center, like it's gonna be continue to be successful and blessed through generations.
And that's the core of what we're doing, you know. But because there are so many churches out there making poor decisions, when you just look at the clips, and I've seen our stuff put in montages of other stuff, I'm like, well, that's fair. Like our stuff looks like in that brief 3-second clip the same stuff that these other things are doing.
Yeah.
But this is a show. I was actually thinking about this just last night, and I don't know why. But if somebody went and saw Les Mis or Phantom or Wicked, and if they left at intermission and never saw the second half of the show, what would they think about those shows?
Probably that they're super boring. Yeah.
Either they're super boring,
Except for Wicked. I mean,
or
the first act of Wicked.
it
Yeah,
ended,
dude.
you know, whatever. Well, that's true. I actually think Wicked would have been better without the second act in some ways. But like, if they only came and sat through one of the songs,
Right.
the show, they would hate the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it makes no sense, and they would have all of these complaints against it. And so this show was never meant to be a social media clip.
Right.
The show was meant to come and watch it from beginning to end so that you get the full arc of the story.
Right. There definitely is an arc. The writing of it is so impressive. Like, I attempt to write often. So a lot of people.
That's the only way you get better is
Well,
if you attempt it
a
often.
lot of people in our like space, like in our audience, attempt to write because like the issue with our audience is they don't have the means a lot of times or the teams to make the caliber of what they want. So like they have an idea, they don't have the they want to make something and they're scared of like, oh, this is going to be bad, so I'm not going to make it, which is something that I do myself.
Listen,
and
man, we all do that.
Yeah. And
That's
the
not
writing
gonna
of
go away.
GOC is like, oh my gosh, like is so impressive.
Kristen Jimenez does the majority of the writing for that, and it is fantastic. And Kristen, if she were here, she would tell you the importance of the collaborative effort of all of that, because what she comes to the table with usually needs to be either dialed down, pushed up, tweaked this way, tweaked that way.
And you have to level it in sections too. Yeah.
And that is interesting what you're saying. You know, my son Caden he's a junior at Oklahoma Baptist, the other OBU.
Yeah.
And he's an English major, and so he does a lot of writing, does a lot of reading. And, you know, he started doing a lot of writing when he was in high school. And at first, you know, we would read some of the stuff and be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, good job,
And
buddy.
then as he went on, it's like, "Oh, this is like
Good.
this is good."
like, I want to read
like this is
Yeah.
starting to be
Yeah.
a thing, and that only happens through
Yeah.
doing
repetition.
it, you
yeah.
know. And I guess that's a side note, but I think that's super important to what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's try and get into some hot takes. I specifically want to ask you about LED walls in churches.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Yeah.
so as someone who's a photographer and videographer,
Mm-hmm.
I hate LED walls because
can't stand
they
them.
make my photos look bad.
I don't blame you.
I much prefer architecture.
Yeah.
Like have you seen the new Knives Out yet? You've probably been a little
No.
busy with
Don't
GOC.
spoil it.
I want to.
I saw it in theaters.
So bad.
So worth seeing in theaters.
Man.
And
Yeah, I got to go see it.
the beauty of churches like that, which that is a Catholic church, which
Mhm.
it takes place in, outshines an LED wall for me.
Mhm.
But why, as a tech director, would you choose an LED wall?
So first of all, I agree with you.
Okay.
And yeah, you want a hot take. So LED walls are the easy way out.
Right.
Okay? Like at the end of the day, let's get an LED wall. And which is frustrating because LED walls can be a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
Like Gather 25's LED wall at Watermark? Dude, you
That's a
got to
thing.
look that up. It's insane.
no, I've been there, and they like everything that went into that LED design
Yeah.
is amazing.
It's nuts.
So here's the deal. An LED wall, if I'm going to use an LED wall, I want to be using it the way that stained glass was used back in the Middle Ages. Okay? I like to look at LED walls as our modern day stained glass, because stained glass was put in cathedrals to tell stories.
Mm.
Now, back then, stained glass, you get to tell one story, and
Right.
that's the way it is
For
for
the next
200
200
years or
years.
whatever it is. So that's the story. Our stories get to change every few seconds if we want it to. Part of the problem is that requires good design.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
And-
AI is only making that worse.
Let's be honest. If you're gonna just go online and buy something from Triple Wide Media or whatever, Church Visuals, which I love
have
that
great
tool,
stuff, yeah.
they do. But if you're just gonna do that and plop it up on your LED wall, then what are we doing exactly?
Yeah.
So there's a design
It's like
aspect
throwing a
of
filter
it.
on your Instagram post.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, this will make it better, and you've kind of ruined all the aspects of it. But at the core of all of it is design. So if you have a room, and I would argue that we're pushing the edges of that here,
You think?
because for GOC it's a different story.
Right.
For our normal, if you go online and watch one of our normal Sunday services when it's not this, you will see there's a lot of LED. This room was never designed for LED.
No. I remember when it got painted black, and there was an uproar.
There
I
was an
remember that.
uproar, and I understand that because it happened really fast.
Yeah, it did.
Happened without any communication. And the initial LED design didn't get built out to what it was supposed to be, so we ended up with just a lot of black. So if you're just going to plop an LED wall in the middle of a room that was never intended for that, that's kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
I think a really good example to look at that's coming up is whatever Jesus Culture is doing with their new building.
Okay.
Because they're going to be doing, from what I've heard, they're going to be doing a very traditional architecture church building.
Okay.
And I'm sure there will be plenty of technology integrated into it. But that's the thing. I think the key word there is integrated.
Mm-hmm.
The design has to be done in a way where this looks like it's supposed to be there.
Okay. Yeah.
I am
No,
not
just
a
like
big
you.
fan of the black box. Because again, it's kind of the easy way out. And if you're going to do a black box, you better be doing some amazing content design
Right.
to make up for that. But I don't think that that's typically a very engaging situation. One of the things that I like what we've done here, you mentioned that initially we went all black. Well, it was just black on the stage.
Right.
But then the house was still the way it was.
Yes.
And so when you're not careful, if you just plop an LED wall on the stage, you are creating a virtual wall between your audience and the stage, which means the audience is in one environment and the stage is in another. Therefore, I'm sitting here watching whatever is happening on stage. I'm not engaging with it.
Yeah.
So when
Which
we did
with worship, it's like kind of the whole point.
I mean, seems like it
Yeah.
to me. I guess some people could argue that. I think the Bible would say that that's the case. So when we redid a lot of our technology here about 2.5 years ago, we pulled color from the room onto the stage and vice versa. We have, and you can't see it right now because of GOC, but we have scenic elements that come all the way out into up into the upper balcony that pulls everything together. We've added some lighting on the balcony rails to cross light the audience so that whatever's happening on stage also feels like it's happening in the room, even to the point where we have an immersive audio system. So that the sound
GOC,
is
that's
coming
been
from
way,
everywhere.
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, GOC we go extreme with it.
How does that done? Like, do we hire someone to do Dolby stuff? Like,
No, actually, okay, so a few things. One, our audio team is insane. Mike Smith is our lead audio engineer, and I probably would not have gone with an immersive audio system if I didn't have Mike Smith on my team. But we worked with D&B Audio and Spectrum Sound on the design of all of it. And D&B, we put in a soundscape system.
Okay.
And so as part of that, we're using the soundscape stuff. We're also using their in-room software, which does some room emulation type stuff. So there's some reverbs and things that are happening that are super interesting. But Jonathan Walker, our MD, Mike Smith, and then we have a guy in Nashville that we use for our immersive mixes that we do, who also helped us think through some, actually some specific plugins that we use as well to pull all of this in there. And so we're very strategic in how we use it. So the problem with immersive audio systems is it's really easy just to get a demo and be like, oh, you can put your snare over there and your electric guitar over there.
Yeah,
it's
and everyone's like, let's pan this left, this right. And
But then that sounds terrible, but somehow it's cool. And that's
it feels like you're listening to the Beatles with one earbud in.
But we are very strategic in how we design that mix so that it's appropriate for the room.
Yeah.
Again, for GOC, we go nuts. There's an angel over here, and that's where the sound comes
It's so lit, dude.
But for our everyday Sunday services,
even the
it's more of just a depth thing.
Mary and Joseph, like, dude, I was like, wait, this has not been like this in the past. I really don't think it was.
Yeah, we made some upgrades this year too.
Yeah, it was nuts. When Mary and Joseph come out, they're on two separate sides of the stage, and they like sing, and it's like just like. It's almost like they like focused it with a lens. Yeah. It's like just far enough on either side to where you can be like, oh, and it's the best.
Yeah, Mike has done some really great stuff with that.
It's sick.
Yeah, it's fun.
Do you have any hot takes you wanted to?
I mean, not really hot takes, but I was gonna branch off on the LED wall thing. I was gonna say someone who I think does it perfectly is like Sight and Sound Theater in Branson.
Oh, absolutely.
I just saw like their David show, or I guess over the summer I did, and like their like screens like basically come out like into the audience almost, or like their stage like wraps around, and then they like build their LED walls like into set pieces.
Yes.
So like the water like is actually on the wall. It's crazy, which they might do here as well. But.
So they added that this year with these rolling out things, and then they turn it. How do y'all do it? Is it a drop down curtain or a pull up curtain?
It's a pull up scrim.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a see-through material, and then they project onto it, and it's so sick because like there's like dancing that happens integrated with it, which
scrim work is a lot of fun.
Helps.
So this is the first year we've done significant scrim work in a couple of decades at least, and it just lets you do some really interesting things. From a theatrical background, I love
theater
scrim
boy.
work.
I love a good scrim.
It's really a lot of fun.
big scrim guy.
But man, the logistics of that are painful.
Yeah. Who maps the projectors? Because that's just.
So Thrasos Media is the company that we bring in to do all of our video work, and that includes all the LED work, the media servers that they bring in, the projection, and everything.
But one of the Monk boys.
So Jordan Monk
is
our graphic designer.
Okay, yeah.
So he does all the motion graphics and everything for the entire show.
Okay,
so
but then
everything that's up there, he's
like
created.
Map it and like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
put
exactly.
it into the. Okay. That's cool. That's so fun. Yeah. All right. Well, let me think if I have any last questions.
And we're using Pixera, by the way, for all of the mapping and media server work.
There we go. Someone out there will.
Somebody will
appreciate
want to know that.
Yeah. I had one question, and it's a little rage baity. But Why do you think it's specifically the drummers that make people mad?
I mean,
Because that's like the only clip I see online.
I think it's just because that's what started it.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, was it 3 years ago?
It was longer than that.
3 or 4 years ago, I was sitting out at front of house, and we were doing a tech rehearsal for the Flying Drummers, and I just took a video.
Oh, it was 3 years ago then, probably, yeah.
I just took a video. I do it every year for different parts,
You
and
know.
just threw it up on Instagram.
When you need your lighting portfolio and you don't know how to do that.
And I don't understand why it took off the way that it did,
Mhm.
but I mean, currently just that video has 3 million views.
Yeah.
There
And
are
who knows how many comments. Yeah.
hundreds of millions of views on other platforms where people ripped it
Right.
and put it on TikTok and a bunch of other places. The most views I've seen was from a video that was down in Brazil. The Brazilians love the Flying Drummers.
There we go.
So they're all for it, but a lot of other people don't. I don't know if it was the drums in particular. I think part of it is out of context.
Yeah.
It's one of the more bizarre things you could think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
Here's
is.
a drummer wearing this weird LED vest
Yeah.
with a giant screen in the back that says Jesus, and he's flying.
And they think it's a Sunday service.
I'm still not sure how we got to that, but I guess just because it's in a church.
Yeah.
But there's just
essentially.
something about that combination of oddities that strikes them. And then the more people learn about the show, the more it kind of ramps up.
Right.
As far as their
Yeah, they're like
anger
they're
goes.
not helping.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so there's and this is what I told the group last night. I have to be careful reading the comments. And like I said, I only respond
So do we.
if
Our
somebody
comments are evil.
if somebody asks a legit question, I will answer it in the comments. And by the way, there is only one person in the last 3 years who has ever DM'd me with a negative comment to actually talk directly to me and say, here's what I think about what you're doing,
Oh, okay.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All the other DMs are positive.
There you go.
And so of all of the thousands of negative comments, none of them have ever bothered to like send a direct
Text,
message and
yeah.
say, why do you do this? So like, because nobody wants to actually engage
They
in
don't
a
want to fight.
conversation.
Yeah. They just
Yeah.
want to put it out
they
there.
want
and
to
be
say what
done.
they
Yeah.
say, and anyway, where were we going with that?
He said we weren't like, cause we're not like giving like all of our money away. Or something.
Oh, so there's 3 types of comments. There's tax the church,
Right.
Which, thanks for that. I don't know where that gets us.
That's also just fundamentally like, if you tax churches, you would have to tax every nonprofit because it would basically make it impossible to like differentiate anyway.
See, here's the problem. You're being logical,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to have that conversation. So there's tax the church people, which are, I hope, 100% non-Christians that are saying that, and then there's the group of both Christians and non-Christians who say all that money could have been given to the poor, which I would agree with, except that we give a whole lot of money to the poor out of our budget. And nobody's going to buy tickets to give to the poor. Like that money doesn't come in.
I never thought of that.
So we do give to the poor a lot. And then there's a third that is largely from Christians, which says, in the first half I agree with, church shouldn't be a spectacle. And I agree. That's why this isn't a church service. This is a show.
Okay, a spectacle. I
A
see what you're
spectacle,
talking about.
A spectacle.
Okay. I was like, wait a second.
overdone, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they also say we shouldn't be doing things with such opulence, with such like over the top, and
Like, yeah.
Just like such, I would say such like, I don't want to say excellence because then it's just I'm coming from my point of view. But yeah, what am I like?
so I've got the word here. I don't know. This is my life
This
right
is
now.
your
My
notes?
brain,
There you go.
my brain is pretty jacked up right now. I'll be honest with you. Extravagance.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are a apparently large number of Christians out there that believe extravagance has no place in the church. And to that end,
Have
I've
they
actually
seen church design?
well,
That's
I'm just saying.
Building design.
And to that end, I've actually had comments made about we should not be trying to do things with such high levels of excellence.
Which
And
that is what I can get
that
behind.
blows my mind.
Yeah, that like phrasing right there is exactly like that is my entire life. It's
Yeah.
like I want this to be the best. If I'm going to touch it, I want it to be the best I can do.
I actually interviewed at a church one time that told me, and these were a couple people who I had known pretty well, that told me, hey, I know that you're kind of about the excellence thing, and we think that's great. But here, we're really interested in a really good work-life balance and everything, and so excellence doesn't always supersede that. And
then you said, you're hiring a media professional, right?
And so in my
What's
head,
work-life balance?
So on the one hand, I'm like, great, I like that. I like that you're not going to let striving for perfection or whatever keep you from your family.
Okay.
But what I actually heard in my head was, we don't really care about excellence.
Yeah.
I mean, we do kind of,
Not really.
but it's just not going to be very important. And I can't seem to find anywhere in the Bible where God says that.
Right. In fact, he says the
matter
opposite.
of fact, yeah, I see all the rest.
Right.
And you the just the perfect story of all of this is Mary breaking open that flask of oil that cost a year's wages.
Yeah.
And pouring it on Jesus' feet and wiping his feet with her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And Judas saying, we should give that money to the poor, which sounds familiar.
Does sound familiar.
And then Jesus saying, leave her alone.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing this because she knows
Yeah.
I will not be here for much longer.
Mm.
And that's our thing.
That's really good.
We're only here for a certain amount of time.
Dang.
And for a show like The Gift of Christmas, where we're providing an opportunity for people to step foot in a church who don't usually step foot in church, this very well could be, depending on how Calvinist you are, this very well could be the one opportunity that God has given for this person to hear about him.
True.
And so it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's urgent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're going to be extravagant. We're going to do anything we can because that's what God has asked us to do.
Yeah.
And he does that all throughout the Bible.
Yeah.
There you go.
We could go for a long time.
We could go for an hour on that.
I mean,
yeah.
I would say from like a non-seminary trained, just my perspective on reading God's word, like our number one calling as Christians, like yes, we're supposed to like protect the needy and like feed the poor, but like our number one calling is to like spread the gospel.
Amen.
And when you are a church, I mean, churches grow obviously, and so churches are like staff is expensive to pay.
True.
There's things that have to get done in a church, but it's like at the end of the day, if your goal is to be spreading the gospel, then like I'm not gonna say anything like goes in the church, but like
Make it distractive
if that's
as
your
possible.
if your
Yeah.
priority is spreading the gospel and like you really are like your heart is towards serving the Lord, then like there shouldn't really be something that we're nitpicking other churches and be like, oh, you can't do that because that's not how Jesus wants you to spread the gospel.
Right.
And
Dang.
so
Yeah.
when you look at like a show like GOC, it's like the bigger and the better it is, the more chance we have of someone walking through those doors and like hearing the gospel for the first time.
Whether they're just confused, whether they're like, oh, I've
It's
seen this
overwhelming.
online.
Yeah.
It definitely is. I remember when we used to have all the signs saying like laser warning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But man, like, yeah, I mean, that's how it is for me. Like when we go to beach camp, we make our book as good as possible.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be reading the Bible out of that book. They're
Right.
going to be reading Bible verses. They're going to be taking their notes. We spend weeks designing that book,
Yeah.
months getting it printed.
Mm-hmm.
Like we make all of our merch as good as possible. We make all of our lighting design as good as possible. We make all of our promotion as good as possible. Why would we not do the same
Well,
thing for Christmas?
Here's my thing on this. Like, okay, aside from the fact that this is what God has said he wanted, that you look at how his temple was built, you look at all these things.
Right.
Like, okay, on top of that, when we talk about excellence, we've all been in that church at some point
Mhm.
where
They're still using a slide projector.
the lady or the girl, well, there's that. The lady or the girl gets up to sing the special before the sermon, and she's just terrible.
Right.
But everybody who knows her in the church is like,
Bless her heart.
her heart is in the right place, and that was such a beautiful offering that she gave to God. And I know I sound like a jerk saying this, and that's fine. put it in the comments. But for the person who is in that church who came because somehow God impressed upon them that they needed to come, and they're listening to that, they're not seeing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting there confused, like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
She's terrible.
Mm.
Is nobody
Are
else
y'all
thinks
hearing
that she's
this?
terrible? And what have we done? We have taken that person out of the environment that we wanted them to be in because we decided that a low bar for excellence was going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're about.
I agree.
We want to get rid of those distractions and make it to where somebody comes and is like, they mean business here.
Yeah.
This must be really important to them.
There we go. I think we'll end on that.
Nice.
I mean, that's the reason for everything. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you coming on. I mean, this is a busy week for him. Just to paint the picture, we're on show 8 of 14?
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't count rehearsals, dress rehearsals.
No, it does not.
All the hours, countless hours.
We've been going since
they've spent
before
up here.
Thanksgiving.
How many energy drinks do you consume a day during
I
GMC?
don't.
Oh, you're not like Ted. Okay.
No, you'll have to talk to Ted.
Okay, we'll talk to Ted.
He's had to whittle it down, but no, I live on water.
There you
somehow.
go. Well, somehow.
It's not going well. I need to take up coffee.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all
Thanks
next
for
week.
having me, guys.
Of course.